Wichita State University. This was a national search. Very pleased with the candidates, and kudos to Mira Kamaraju and her committee for identifying good finalists. So pending your approval, Dr. Smith will join the SIU community in July, and I respectfully submit his name for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion for the committee to approve this item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, and the motion carries. Committee item 2 proposes the approval of the salary and appointment for the interim dean, College of Mass Communication and Media Arts at SIUC. Chancellor Dunn.
Thank you very much. Again, the university seeks your approval for the salary and appointment of Mr. Howard Motel as the interim dean of the College of Mass Communication and Media Arts. This appointment would be effective on July 1. Mr. Motel was one of 4 tenured faculty in the college to interview for the interim dean position. This included an open presentation to the college community and meetings with the provost and me. Mr. Motel is currently an associate professor in the Department of Radio, Television, and Digital Media. Began his career at SIU in 2007 as an assistant professor. He has extensive experience working in both the private sector and film and television industry. Holds a Master of Fine Arts and a degree in film and video production from Northwestern University, a bachelor's degree from Penn State University. And so I respectfully submit this item and his appointment for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion for the committee to approve this item?
So moved.
So a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And committee item 2 has been approved.
Thank you.
Committee item 3 proposes approval of salary and appointment Dean, College of Arts and Science at SIUE. Chancellor Pembroke.
Thank you, Chair Tedrick. This matter presents for approval the salary and appointment of the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at the Edwardsville campus. This request follows a national search in which 8 candidates were recommended by the search committee for Zoom interviews. 4 of the 8 candidates participated in campus-wide interviews before the COVID shutdown in March. The Edwardsville campus is fortunate to have found a highly qualified and respected external candidate, Dr. Kevin Leonard, who has successfully served as a professor of history and chair of large history departments at Middle Tennessee State University, as well as Western Washington University. Dr. Leonard is a collaborative leader with experience in mentoring, strategic planning, assessment, budget management. He's a scholar in 20th century U.S. history, U.S. Western history, African American history, and LGBTQ history. He holds degrees from the University of California, Davis and Pomona College. We recommend the appointment of Dr. Leonard as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences beginning July 1.
Thank you, Chancellor. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? And committee item 3 has been approved. Committee item 4 proposes an appointment of the Chancellor SIUC. President Mahoney, would you speak to this?
Yeah, it's my great pleasure to present Dr. Austin Lane as my recommendation for the next Chancellor at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. Dr. Lane has a long history in higher education, 25 years of experience at a wide variety of institutions, including Texas Southern University, University of Texas at Arlington, Lone Star State College, as well as at Tyler Junior College. So he's been both at the junior college level, but also at research universities. He's had a lot of success, and one of the things we were looking for is someone who could do well with budget management, with enrollment, with strategic planning, with fundraising, and he's had success in all of those key areas. He's been vetted several times at different levels by the search committee, by the search firm, by the campus community, and overall very positive feedback, and was well received by people here at SIU Carbondale. So I recommend Dr. Lane for the position of Chancellor at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there any discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And committee item 4 has been approved. Is it appropriate here to ask Chancellor Dunn what your plans are timing wise?
Oh,
I know as soon as possible, but
no, I intend to do what I can to help our new chancellor in the transition. I've extended that to Austin earlier. And along with the message that I will do what I can to be helpful, that includes getting out of the way. But having gone through this before, I know that both can be very important at certain times. But I'm very pleased to have had the opportunity to be with you for 18 months, and do not, although I will move to Oregon where my wife is, I do not intend to be too far away from SIU, Carbondale, and hope that in some ways I can continue to be of some assistance. I've shared that with the president earlier. My need is to be engaged, but not, I don't need any money. I just need to have the phone ring every once in a while. I answer and I'll try and be helpful. Thank you.
all right. Well, we appreciate the fine job you've done.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no further business before the Finance Committee, this committee meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Tedrick. I'm now going to call the Seminole University Trustees Full Board meeting back to order. There will be a public question and comments portion available at today's meeting to last up to 15 minutes total, 3 minutes per speaker. Are there any persons who wish to speak, Madam Secretary?
We may have one speaker, Dave Johnson. Dr. Johnson, are you on by Zoom?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. As members of this board know, the FAA, the Faculty Association, released a statement about the Chancellor search in which we said that we believe that both Dr. Stapleton and Dr. Lane would be strong collaborative leaders who would promote shared governance. In Dr. Lane's case, we noted the controversies surrounding his departure from Texas Southern had led many faculty to be concerned, but we determined that what we knew at the time did not justify ruling him out of contention for the position of Chancellor. Shared governance relies on transparency and trust. Those two qualities will also be of the utmost importance as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Faculty, staff, students, parents, and community members need to be able to trust what SIU says. In particular, they need to be able to trust the facts and figures SIU provides are indeed factual. The most striking figure in the SIU press release announcing the selection of Dr. Lane was the statement that enrollment at Texas Southern had increased by 28% during a 3-year period from fall of 2016 to fall of 2019. That statement is false. Enrollment at Texas Southern increased during that period by less than 2%, according to the official figures readily available on the Texas Southern website. There is no single fact that will be more important to the future of SIUC than our enrollment. It is thus deeply troubling that SIUC appears to be broadcasting a blatantly false claim about our presumptive chancellor's past performance regarding enrollment. The Houston Chronicle ran a story this morning about a report sponsored by the Texas Southern Board of Regents. That report outlines massive irregularities in TSU's undergraduate admissions and scholarship programs. The report does not mention Dr. Lane by name. It was also clearly leaked by his enemies in order to embarrass him as he was about to be named chancellor here. The motive of the leaker does not, however, demonstrate that the problems raised in the report were not real. Those problems, if accurately reported, undermine the claim that Dr. Lane raised enrollment at Texas Southern in a responsible way. I have a question for you today then, which is how you plan to ensure trust and transparency going forward, given these concerns faculty will have about the hiring of Dr. Lane. The FAA will do all in its power to work productively with the new administration, but for that relationship to be productive, it must be based on transparency and trust. Thank you.
Just find that.
Yes, yeah.
Dr. Johnson through?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just informed that the YouTube was down for the first two items that was approved by the Finance Committee. Do you think we need to go back and redo that?
We can. Were they able to see it via Zoom if they couldn't get it to YouTube?
Only if the people would have individually asked me for a Zoom link to view. But the general public would have been trying to look at YouTube.
To get through to see it.
Right. But the YouTube link wasn't working. It was on and off.
For the first two. I don't know that it's critical to it, but we can redo it so
Okay,
that
why don't we do-
seen, it's gonna be obviously approved by the full board.
Right.
Here in a moment. We've had the opportunity for public comments. Doesn't sound like that was discussed, but since it was down, the prudent thing may be to have finance committee come back just to do those two quickly.
We, Trustee Tedrick, we need to do the first two items again on the Finance Committee.
Okay, committee item 1 proposes approval of the salary and appointment dean, School of Education. Chancellor Dunn, would you briefly make a few comments? Can you hear me, Chancellor Dunn?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. The item before you is the approval of the salary and appointment of the Dean, School of Education. We seek your approval to appoint Dr. M. Cecil Smith as the Dean of the School of Education. Dr. Smith is a professor and graduate program coordinator at the College of Education and Human Services at West Virginia University. He also served 5 years as the college's Associate Dean, Research and Graduate Education. He is returning to the great state of Illinois after having been earlier on faculty at Northern Illinois University. Dr. Smith holds his PhD from the University of Wisconsin at Madison, with a master's degree from the University of Kansas, and his bachelor's degree from Wichita State University. The recommendation follows a national search in which the finalists were interviewed through open forums with stakeholders of the school and in interviews with the search committee, the provost, and certainly the chancellor. I want to compliment the committee and Dr. Mira Kamaraju for conducting a very thorough search and a good search. So pending your approval, Dr. Smith will join the SIU community in July, and we respectfully submit this item for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion for the committee to approve this item?
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the committee item 1 has been approved. Committee item 2 proposes approval of the salary and appointment for the interim dean, College of Mass Communication Media Arts. Chancellor Dunn.
Thank you, Trustee Tedrick. This item seeks approval of the salary and appointment of Mr. Howard Motel as the interim dean of the College of Mass Communication and Media Arts. The appointment, if approved, would be effective on July 1. Mr. Motel was one of 4 tenured faculty in the college to interview for the interim dean position, which included an open presentation to the college community and meetings with the provost and me. Mr. Motel is currently an associate professor in the Department of Radio, Television, and Digital Media. He began his career at SIU in 2007 as an assistant professor, having brought with him other university experiences and work in the private sector in the film and television industry. H.D. Motel holds a Master of Fine Arts degree in film and video production from Northwestern University and a bachelor's degree from Penn State University. And we respectfully submit this item for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept this item? To approve this item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And committee item 2 has been approved again.
Okay, we're
Mr.
back.
Chair,
We are now back in the full board meeting. Next will be the call of the omnibus motion. Madam Secretary, please read the item suggested for the omnibus motion.
Items C, D, and E, which are approval of salary and appointment for Dean, School of Education, SIUC, interim Dean, College of Mass Communication, SIUC, and Dean, College of Arts and Sciences, SIUC.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the items for the omnibus motion?
So moved.
So second.
Been moved and seconded. We are now going to ask for a roll call vote on the omnibus motion.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Lockett,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
yes.
I declare the motion to approve the omnibus motion has been passed. The last item is item F, the appointment of a chancellor. SIUC, President Mahoney, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, great honor to recommend Dr. Austin Lane to be the next chancellor of the Carbondale campus. Dr. Lane comes to us with a lot of experience at a variety of different types of institutions and a great deal of success in different areas. I will address Dr. Johnson's comments, so I think it's worth doing that. As far as the 28% increase, I looked at those numbers, and it depends on how you look at it. Really was focused on a cumulative increase over those 3 years as opposed to a fall 16 versus fall 19 comparison, which I think Dr. Johnson did. It's a different way of looking at enrollment increases, but over the period of time he was there, and I'm happy to share the math with anybody, it comes out to about 27-28% increase in enrollment during that 3-year period of time. So it's a different way of presenting enrollment increases, but it's not factually inaccurate. The report that came out in Texas yesterday, timing very interesting, but it also was not something we had not seen before. And there actually was because of an anonymous complaint to the state did actually investigate the claims that they had done, that there had been admission irregularities back in 2019. And so I actually have a copy of the letter from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board that said they thoroughly investigated the admissions in 2017, 2018, found no irregularities, and that the matter was then closed. So the report that came out this week actually is strange in that they've already actually looked into it and said there was no irregularities in the admissions during those 2 years that were in question. I will say also the report failed to look at any comparison between the 3 years Dr. Lane was president and the previous 3 years. So if there was a change in admission standards, that would be easy to do. The report intentionally seems to have left that part out. There is no comparison. So it's hard to say what was happening during his period was actually different than what had been happening all along. And in fact, during Dr. Lane's period, one of the things I think that was most impressive is the large increase in retention rates. Whether you look at fall to spring, fall to fall, or 2-year retention rates, all of those went up by about 4 to 7% each, which is pretty big increases. And frankly, would be shocking if they were admitting less qualified students during that period to have that big of an increase in retention rate. That would be highly unusual. So it doesn't seem to be consistent at all with that. But those retention rates were really pretty impressive. And again, one of the things that made Dr. Lane a really appealing candidate. In fact, 2 of the years he was there, the fall to spring retention rates were the highest 2 they've had as far back as I could find on the Texas Southern website. So there's actually quite a bit of success in retention, again, seeming to be in conflict with the claim that they were admitting less qualified students during that period. Also, the suggestion that they admitted students who didn't meet the standards on the probationary conditional admittance is not actually at all unusual in higher education, even though the report seems to suggest that it is. So we did look at that thoroughly, just as we looked at the auditor's report back in marched thoroughly in every report that we could to see if there was anything to be concerned of, and there was not.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I will say that I talked to Dr. Lane this morning, and Chancellor Dunn, you'll be happy to hear this. He wants to get started soon. I think he's going to be here by mid-June, and hopefully he'll have a day or two with you before you leave, which I think is the end of June, if not before. So, John, did you hear that?
I did. Thank you very much. I appreciate the news and information, and we'll do our part to make sure that we help in any way we can with Dr. Lane. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution to hire Dr. Lane as Carbondale's Chancellor?
So moved.
So second.
Been moved and seconded. We're now going to ask for a roll call vote on the resolution.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Lockett,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
An enthusiastic yes.
Yes.
Okay, I declare the motion is passed. Our last item of business, I want to recognize a few people. First of all, I want to recognize John Dunn, who this will be his last board meeting. John, you came to this campus at a critical time that we needed your expertise and your service here as interim chancellor for the last year and a half plus has helped guide this university and this campus. And on behalf of myself and the board, we cannot thank you enough for your service, your public service to this university, to this community, and for the efforts you have made in making this university grow bigger and greater, and you basically set the groundwork for Dr. Lang to come in and hopefully hit the ground running. But I want to thank you for your service as interim chancellor.
And I second that.
Could I add something to this? And I want to thank John for his service as well. Obviously, I want to thank him for what he's done over the last 18 months. Many people have said to me, you've walked in at a very unusual time. I've thought a lot about John and stepping into this position for a long interim period. I'm sure he did not expect to end his career dealing with a major pandemic crisis, but he has done it and done it really well. And he's been really supportive and helpful to me during my transition here at SIU as the president. So sincere thank you for me as well.
Thank you.
And John will probably take you up on your offer to come back sometime and help us out, okay?
All right. Very well. Thank you.
I also want to recognize our outgoing student trustees, Breon Lockett for SIU Carbondale and Mackenzie Rogers for SIU Edwardsville. Breon has served the board for 2 years. Mackenzie has served on the board for 1 year. Breon earned his PhD degree in May. Mackenzie earned a bachelor's degree and has started a job in Springfield with plans to go to law school in a few years, as I understand it, Mackenzie. We appreciate your willingness to attend our one last board meeting today. We appreciate your thoughtful service on the board. And unfortunately, I cannot hand you these certificates. I have them right here, but we'll have Misty mail them to you. Anyway, congratulations to both of you on your graduations, and best of luck in your career paths in the future. That concludes the business of the Board of Trustees today. The next regular scheduled meeting of the board is planned to be held July 9th at the Illinois University School of Medicine in Springfield. We don't know whether the governor is going to extend his executive order regarding being able to have these Zoom meetings versus having us to get together in person regarding Open Meetings Act. But I know there's going to be a concern about overnight stay and hotels and stuff, but we will we'll find out what the governor is going to be doing in the next few weeks, and then I'll reach out to each of the, or have Misty reach out to each of the board members regarding whether or not we want to do the board meeting in July, similar to what we've done the last two meetings. I'm hoping to get back where we can all be together sooner rather than later. After the July board meeting, we're going to be in Alton, and hopefully that this thing will die down to where we can all get together in Alton, because I think Trustee Simmons is going to buy us dinner.
That's correct. And Breon and Mackenzie, if you're around, come to dinner with us.
Okay. Also, I want to say that on Monday is Dean Cruz's birthday. So he will be celebrating 39 again.
Nice.
And I want to thank, Dean Cruz has been giving us these daily updates. What the medical school has been doing has really been magnificent in moving and helping with this pandemic situation we're in now. So we appreciate Dean Cruz and also Chancellor Pembroke, what people in Edwardsville and what Chancellor done, what people in Carbondale have been doing. A news conference will be held immediately after the board meeting at the, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sign, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. And everybody have a good day and stay safe.
Do we just stay on the line for the press conference?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Who do we have from the press that want to start asking questions?
Looks like we have Jen Fuller and Callie Cox. Jen, if you want to start us out.
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. My questions deal, of course, with the new chancellor. As it was referenced, there appears to be some new information out. President Mahoney, you mentioned that you could walk through the math regarding that 28% increase. I wonder if you could do that for me, because I just can't seem to get that number.
Yeah, and I can even send it to you if you would like. If you want me to email it to you, I can email it to you because it's probably easier to explain. But what they were doing at Texas Southern was looking at the increase in each year and then kind of lumping that together in comparison to the year he started. So the fall 16 numbers, they compared the increases. So there was 1,300 in the first year. If I remember the exact number, say 700 the next, another say 200 to the next. They took that together, divided that by the fall 2016 number, and it kind of comes out to like 27-28%. But I can send that to you directly so you can see that.
I often joke that I went into journalism because math is not my strong suit, so I'll look forward to that.
It laid it out very clearly, so it should be easy to follow.
Well, as I looked, I went to Texas Southern's website, and when I went to their facts, the enrollment actually declined after the fall of, I believe, I closed the window, so I can't look at it directly, but it looked like the enrollment declined after the fall of 2017. Is that the same that you saw?
Yeah. So again, but it was all comparison to the fall of 16, which was when he started. And if you look at each of those years, it's higher than it was in fall of 16. And what I'm saying is if you take the cumulative increases across all 3 years and compare that to fall 16, that's where you come up with that 27-28%. So it's a different way of looking at enrollment increases and different, I think, than we've reported here sometimes, but it's not factually inaccurate. It's just a different way of looking at it.
I see. Do the reports that came out yesterday and today in the Houston Chronicle give you any more concern or any reason that you think you're going to need to keep a closer eye on how things are run on the Carbondale campus?
No, like I say, nothing was really new. Those were the same accusations that have been out there since there was an anonymous complaint back in, I think it was November of 2018 about what was going on with admissions. That was in the audit report. That's why when I read the audit report back in March, I started to look at what I could find online as far as information about their student body and what was happening. And that's why I said what was impressive, I guess, I would say, was the increases in retention, relatively, and again, all of that you can find online and I can help you find it, but there were big increases in retention in the 3 to 4 years he was there compared to what it was in the prior years. And two things I guess that said to me. One is they're doing a really good job when it comes to student success, which is an important part of enrollment. It's not just recruiting new students, but it's retaining the students that we have. But the other thing that stood out to me was, all right, if you're claiming that they were reducing admission standards to bump up the class, then how do you explain that the retention is actually going up in those years compared to the prior years? That didn't make sense to me, still doesn't make sense to me. And when I read through the report yesterday, it provided some data that I hadn't seen before on the number of students who were above the criteria versus the students admitted below the criteria, but it didn't compare it to the 3 previous years. And my guess is those years would not look vastly different than the years they presented. So looking at those 3 years in isolation gives you a very, I guess, misguided or inaccurate view. You would have to, I would look at, what I did was consistently look at the period before he was there versus the period he was there. They don't provide you the period before he was there. And this idea, again, that they were admitting so many more unqualified students is completely inconsistent with the retention data. In fact, that would be almost a miracle to see retention go up that much at the same time the admission standards were, what they were saying going down. I don't think they were going down. I think actually the admission standards were probably fairly the same during his period of time. But again, they isolated on those years, I think, in part to make it look like there was something that was going on wrong. And again, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board investigated it back in 2019 and said there were no irregularities in what they saw and closed the matter in 2019. So why the Board of Trustees decided to hire an outside investigator to look at that data again, I don't know. I can't explain that.
Thank you.
Anything else from any other press?
Yeah, hi.
Go
This is
ahead.
Callie Cox from the Daily Egyptian. I just wanted to ask a few more questions about how you guys sort of conducted the background check into Dr. Lane. I know that you said that you read the auditor's report. I was just wondering if after reading the report, you had any further concerns about Lane, because when I read it, it showed that the auditor found that even though he was able to leave without admission of wrongdoing, they found that he did know about the accusations about the assistant dean and did fail to report it to the Board of Regents, as was his contract said he should. It also said that he tried to interfere in the investigation itself. And I was just wondering if that had any concern for you, or?
Yeah, well, and again, when I read through the auditor report, and I always point out I was a former auditor, so I look at it from not just what is accused, but actually what information is there. And there was virtually nothing that supported any of those accusations. So again, he tried to stop the investigation from happening. Well, who said that? Where's the documentation? Is there emails? Is there texts? Is there anything that would indicate any support for that type of stuff? And there wasn't. There were a lot of accusations within that auditor's report, including the admissions thing we just talked about. That was in there as well. There was things about foundation funding, all of which I know you can look at. There is always some documentation for that. That was completely absent from that report. Really was any true documentation of here's what happened, here's the documentation that he did something wrong. So as I read through it and talked with him, and I think other people have talked with him, I know other people have talked to him as well about some of those accusations. He's been able to explain it fairly well, and I think he probably could do a better job than I can. But I can say from my standpoint, as I looked through it, I was looking for the evidence to support the accusations, and really it wasn't there.
As you were sort of looking through to find that evidence, did you contact Charla Parker Thompson at any point, the auditor, to gain more insight?
No, I did not contact the auditor directly. I used her written words rather than talking with her directly about it.
Thank you. And then my last question is, what do you hope to accomplish the first semester that you are working with Dr. Lane?
I think it's, from a system standpoint, one of the things I think in the first semester we really want to do is get our strategic plan completed, but also it's, I think, figuring out what the strategic plan is for the Carbondale campus. And so that's one of the things I think that will be one of our biggest priorities. I think also, given everything that's happening, is figuring out how we handle the fall semester, how we transition to a different type of experience. Then it's not going to be like fall 19, but we're going to have an in-person experience, and how we work through all of the challenges that might present. I think between the strategic planning part and the kind of preparing for an entirely different semester. I think those are probably two of the biggest things we'll work on. And I think also trying to get Dr. Lane out and connecting with people. So I think, part of the discussion earlier is how do you build trust? I think Dr. Lane will do that effectively when he has a chance to go out and meet with people, and hopefully he'll be able to do some of that even in a more restrictive environment in the fall.
Thank you. Those are all of my questions.
John Charles, is that it?
I think that's it, sir.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and everybody have a good day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, John.